So welcome to this Cycling Life, Technical Bytes. Today I'm joined by former professional triathlete and Belgian, Jim Thijs, who's actually living in Sardinia right now. But rather than me saying too much about Jim, why don't you say a few words to introduce yourself? Welcome, Jim.
Okay, thanks, Jamie. Yes, as you said, I'm a former professional triathlete. I live in Sardinia. I'm more focused on coaching right now. I've been coaching almost all my career, focused on masters and age groupers in several sports. But here in Sardinia, I created a youth project. So I'm following several kids who are doing several sports like triathlon, cycling, cyclocross, cross-country running. And yeah, that's what I'm doing now.
Great. Okay, Jim, the topic we're going to talk about today specifically is swimming. As you know, many of our audience members of this Cycling Life are cyclists, and many of them master cyclists. However, we do appreciate that swimming actually can be a very beneficial sport to integrate as part of an overall cycling training program. I mean, guys like Richie Porte, for example, former triathlete himself, he swears by swimming as an exercise that can really help to improve and develop condition as a cyclist. So can we maybe start by you talking about swimming and why swimming perhaps is a good sport for cyclists to think about?
Well, swimming is an aerobic sport like cycling. So if you just consider that we have only one heart or whatever we are doing, it's all, as in an endurance sport, we're always improving our endurance. And the benefit of swimming for a cyclist is that you are doing a kind of core workout while also working aerobically. And that's something that might be very interesting for many cyclists, because you never know what can happen during your career. Like you might have a crash, or you need some rehabilitation work to do. And if you already have the skills to swim and to do real swim workouts, you can immediately start doing these sessions, and you don't lose any fitness because you have an alternative. So that can be a way to see it. And otherwise, yeah, it brings variation into your training. Like, for example, running or cross-country skiing. There are many professional cyclists who have a background also in cross-country skiing or in other sports, because the more complete you are as an athlete or whatever, as a youth athlete, if you grow up very complete, then you can go to become like an adult, and as a professional go really specific. But cycling, like any other endurance sport, will always help cycling as well.
Yeah, you mentioned core because that's something we do talk about a lot on this Cycling Life. We talk about the importance of strengthening core in a way as a platform, to build upon with regard to all-round fitness. So why is swimming in particular so good for core development?
Because you're using muscles that you're not using like that specifically when you're on the bike. So you're using your arms, you're using a lot of abdominals to help you with the stabilization in the water. You might even learn to do the flip turn, and then you have the push off the wall. So you learn new skills, and you learn to use your body and certain muscles in those skills. And that's as what you would do in the gym. It's not as specific to pushing power on the pedals, but it creates that you are more complete as an athlete, and because of that you might produce more power.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, for me, and also I guess growing up in Australia, swimming was something we did from the time we could almost walk. So swimming's always for me been something that I've really enjoyed, and I have also integrated as part of my cycling, my overall fitness program. But one of the things I find is that when I'm, say, training really intensively, you do get that delayed muscle soreness, for example, which is uncomfortable. And I also find getting in the pool, it's good for kind of the active recovery. Is that the way you would look at it as well sometimes?
Yeah, because that's actually, I was not going to mention it, but it's a great question. like instead of doing like the typical 1 hour easy spin after a race or after a very crazy session, you might just go to the pool if you have easy access to a swimming pool, and do half an hour or an hour of swimming. And it has probably an even bigger effect of as a recovery session, but also mentally it might help because you're not just on the bike doing what you did the day before, but then very easy. You do something completely different and you have the same effect or even a greater effect.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's interesting you
But
mentioned, I guess, the psychological benefits, because again on TCL we've had some debate and discussion about stretching. You know, and you know,
yeah,
many people say for stretching, and particularly with regard to post intensive training, where you might get some of that delayed
yeah,
onset muscle soreness, that stretching is often not the best thing. However, we have talked about the psychological benefits of stretching, that gentle stretching actually calms you, relaxes you. Again, from my own experience, I find being in the pool, it's a really great experience just to relax, because
yeah,
it
yeah.
is quite a repetitive exercise. So how do you look at that aspect of swimming in terms of the psychological benefits? I mean, from your own experience, because you've swam thousands of
Yeah.
kilometers over your career, what do you think about
Yeah,
being in
yeah.
the pool? What do you hear from your athletes you're training about that time in the pool from a mental perspective?
Yeah, so I think there we have to see the difference between a cyclist going to a swimming pool and a professional swimmer or a triathlete or a professional triathlete going to a swimming pool, where like for triathletes it's their work. I mean it's part of their real training. So there is not a lot that relaxation about it because you go there to do your session. Where for a cyclist it's like an alternative way of training, and they are not looking at the power, so they can free their mind of those things, like you just swim half an hour or whatever are your capabilities, and you're not always stressed of what is the power I'm pushing, what is my average speed. And from that point of view, it's a very like healthy way of doing sport compared to always what we tend to do as competitive athletes, as looking at the numbers on the bike.
Yeah, yeah, understood. Um, One of the things coming again to my experience, coming from Australia, like I said, we start swimming at a really young age. Like
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
doing freestyle and breaststroke and backstroke and everything. By the time we're like 10 years old, we can probably easily do 3 or 4 different strokes. It
yeah,
was a bit of a shock for me coming to Europe and my first trip. I remember you used to work at a swimming pool not
yeah,
so far from Brussels in Overijse.
yeah.
And I'm sure you saw some pretty scary kind of swimming strokes when you were at the pool in your time, because maybe people here in continental Europe haven't had as much kind of, swim training or swim technique training. So what do you see as the most common challenges or fears for people getting into swimming for the first time or thinking about
Yeah,
integrating it as part of a training program?
yeah, definitely for master cyclists who never really swam, like never learned proper swimming, except maybe when they were 5 years old, like just learning to survive in the water. Then it's a real challenge to really enjoy swimming, or to swim in a way that it might be beneficial for their cycling. Because if the only thing you can do is swim from one side to the other side of the pool, almost drowning, or that it's more survival, there is nothing beneficial about that for your cycling.
Right.
So the first thing you need to learn as a master cyclist, if you want that the swimming will help you, is a minimum of skill set, that you can do some type of endurance work in the pool, that you can do like 10 times 100 meter, and that it's not a maximum effort to do those kind of distances. Like, and then it becomes enjoyable. So what I would suggest, if persons, cyclists, don't have that experience of swimming, that the first thing they do is get a coach or somebody who works at a pool and take 10 lessons or something to learn like the minimum kind of things to master at least freestyle, that they can do like some distances in a comfortable way, and maybe learn the flip turn, and some things that can be then a challenge in itself, and that might be also very good for their motivation to do it that way. Where if they would go all by themselves, they might just struggle, and none of this will be enjoyable.
Yeah, yeah, cool. I mean, I guess it's interesting what you say there about sort of it being an endurance activity, because even for me, I think I'm a reasonably accomplished swimmer, but you know, for me going to the pool, it's usually 20 minutes, certainly not more than 30 minutes of freestyle, you know, just doing laps and maybe having a rest halfway in between. But that is something which I'm very conscious of, is I use the pool very much as sort of general aerobic conditioning.
Okay.
And I don't want to be going in, you know, I don't want to be doing over threshold swimming or
No.
because yeah, it's a struggle.
No, but if you have the skills, and you would be injured that you can't ride the bike, or for some kind of reason, maybe bad weather, or your bike is at a mechanic, and you have access to a pool, if you have the skills, you can do the same session that you would have planned to do on the bike. You do it in the pool, but then you do it with minutes, and you try to put, like, instead of 1 minute intervals, you try to do 50-meter intervals in the pool, or something that comes close to a minute, or whatever distance time you had to do on the bike, and then you just don't have to stop training. Where for running might be also a great alternative, but there some cyclists are really prone to injury for running. Like, if you didn't do a lot of running in the last weeks before that, it's not a good idea to just go and do intervals running. Where with swimming, you just go, if you have the skills, like from one day to another, you can just go and do also in intervals.
Yeah. It's interesting you mentioned that, because actually many of the cyclists that I know who are in their 40s, sometimes in their 50s, they've come to cycling because of running related injuries.
Yes.
So that's, you know, often a progression for people. So
that's why.
What I understand from you, and actually this is the way that I look at it, because you know, for me, I'm not a natural runner. I don't love running. So for me, not being a runner, swimming, I find actually quite a seamless and complementary sport. But the other thing is, you don't leave the swimming session with shin soreness or muscle soreness or any of that sort of higher impact kind of recovery issues that you have with running there, which I find. Look, we've talked a bit about the aerobic side, but you know, the other thing I do some, you know, particularly because I try to swim throughout the year. I integrate some swimming in throughout the year. So I also do some sort of, you know, threshold and over threshold sprints and stuff in the pool. I kind of enjoy that. It brings variety into my training. But what I feel there, Jim, as well, is I don't have the same sort of muscle soreness or issues related to delayed onset muscle soreness that I would have, say, with a sprint training session on the bike. What do you think about that? I mean, actually using the pool potentially for anaerobic kind of training. Are there special benefits there, or things you would caution towards?
To be honest, I never thought of it in that way. I mean, I never sent as part of a standard training program for a cyclist, like real sets in the pool, except if there is, as I mentioned earlier, like a real problem in their preparation, like with an injury or something. So I wouldn't go that path. I would more use swimming for like year round than or easy recovery swims or some aerobic work. I wouldn't go as far as doing like specific sets to prepare for cycling, because one thing we have to know, and it's the same with core training, with core stability training, or lifting, or running or swimming. It's not like a real shortcut to push more power on the bike. Like, it doesn't work like that. It's just going to make you more complete, and maybe you're going to avoid injuries, and you might have a bigger engine, but it's not that you're going to be like faster from doing some sets in the pool. So we always have to be a little bit careful with how much importance we give as cyclists then to alternative training sessions.
Sure. Good to know. So so you're telling me I shouldn't be doing my sprints in the pool, Jim?
You as a good swimmer, if you're in the pool and you feel great and you are full of energy, and you know that maybe the day after you're not allowed, you won't be able because of traveling to do whatever you wanted to do on the bike. Of course, it's go and do your sprints and do as long as it makes you happy, but don't really expect to like skip your cycling exercises or intervals and do them in the pool and hope to be as strong on the bike as
That's
if
all
you
right.
would have done.
No, because it does give me pleasure, Jim. You know, when I'm in the pool and I'm like,
Yeah.
people really fast, you know, and stuff. And sometimes it gets crowded in the pool, so you have to do those little sprints to get past the big guy, you know.
Yeah.
You don't want to be behind that big guy in the pool for too long. It's not pretty under the water sometimes.
Yeah.
So what about like, let's just say, you know, like you've said, someone coming into swimming, maybe they've been a runner, they want to now alternate with different kinds of sport for their general conditioning. What would you recommend people to sort of get started? I mean, you mentioned already that a coach can help in terms of just teaching basic techniques, but you know, you mentioned freestyle. So what, you know, if you were just coaching somebody who's just coming into swimming, what would be your 3 or 4 pieces of advice to them to enjoy it and to get some benefit from it? You mentioned already the coaching.
That's
the distance.
Let us be
what
clear.
would be the other factors?
That should always be number one, like learning the skills, like a proper technique somehow. And the most common way, or the fastest way will be with a coach that is on deck in the swimming pool. Then learning to do some distance in the pool. I think the moment you get the skills and you learn how to swim like half an hour divided in intervals, like as I mentioned earlier, like 10 by 100 meter with some 10-20 seconds recovery every 100 meter, like you will already swim 1,000 meter without creating a lot of fatigue, and still you have a little bit of endurance work in it. So trying to build up towards something like this, maybe in the beginning, like 20 times 50, and then you get also 2,000 meter, and once you get comfortable with that, like build it so you can go to 2,000 meter in total, 3,000 meter in total. And if you get to 3,000 meter that way, you have like a 1 hour of swimming, like a full 1 hour of endurance work. And that's going to bring a lot of variation in the training program. And as I said earlier, you might not push more power on the bike, but it might make your training year round more consistent, because it might be that you lose some motivation to go out on the bike when it's bad weather, but you go to a pool and you swim for 1 hour instead of doing nothing. And those are the real benefits.
Sure. And you know, Jim, you know, as cyclists, well, triathletes too, you know, we shave our legs. So, you know, when you're getting in the pool, should you think about the whole body shave or what? Like, is that something you're thinking about as cyclists who are going to get serious about swimming?
No, I don't think it goes. If it's just for training, it doesn't matter. If you want to go to the Olympics, yes, then you should consider it.
and actually on that point, very importantly, man, you know, because like one of the things that, of course, really made me freak out a little bit about swimming is when I first came to Europe, the swimming pools, they made a law that you really had to wear those little swimming shorts, you know?
Yes.
Like, because in Australia, you can go to the pool and you can wear like surf shorts or something like that.
Of course.
That really put me off. But now actually in the local pools here in Belgium, I'm allowed to wear the long, you know, they have the long swimming shorts now. Which look like bike shorts. They really look like bike shorts.
So it's better for the tan lines.
Well, what do you think, Jim? I mean, you know, if you're serious about swimming, should you go for what in Australia we call the budgie smugglers, you know, the little tiny shorts, or should you what do you think is the best?
I mean, I think the best thing is something that doesn't create too much drag, because then that makes the whole experience even worse. So as long as you don't go with the surf shorts, I think you're fine. The length, you can decide. That's up to you, whatever you feel comfortable in. But I would avoid shorts that create too much drag, because then it becomes more a power strength workout just every 25 meter.
So you should have some shorts that keep everything nice and tight.
Yes.
Okay, that's good. That's very good advice, I'm sure. We were talking a couple of weeks ago with Michael Rogers on This Cycling Life about aerodynamics. I never thought that I would get to the swim shorts.
Of course.
But here we are. So that's great.
Yeah.
Jim Thijs, thanks a lot for this technical bite session. I think we've learned a lot about swimming, particularly for those cyclists who would like to integrate swimming as part of their general conditioning program. I believe in it. I really love swimming. As I said, I do it all year round. Guys like Richie Port clearly have been bringing that, using that as part of their training for a long time. So if it works for Richie Port, then it might work for the rest of us. So Jim, thanks for your time. For everyone who's been watching, if you have enjoyed this video, please do give us the thumbs up. And of course, do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks, Jim.